So under this framework, when we think about, what exactly disorder policing and what this actually looks like, then what are the police supposed to do? So the police, in their role. Well, I mean, the sort of like obvious answer, but that's not really informative, is that we want them to reduce disorder. Oh, yes. The way to solve disorder issues that as they relate to crime is to reduce disorder. Perfect, right? Like, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. And, like, that'd be one of those things, like, if I, like, saw someone write it, I'm like, well, congratulations, you. And it's like reading that definition in a dictionary, like, where you look up the word, it's like, see, oh, it means this. Go look up this word. And you're just like, ugh, great. So let's think about what the police, end up doing and like how they may prevent it, right? So in this particular context, right, when we have police, so police are sent out and they are deployed into communities. And more often than not, at least when this theory, was first kind of put about, right, police were very reactive, and they still are today, right? Reactive, so they answer when calls are coming to them, right? And they aren't necessarily being proactive in that sense because they're just responding, right? That's very different than just like being more proactive, right? So they're proactive, right? They're mobile, and so they're always in the car, or they're moving, trying to get to place to place. They're serving that passive deterrent role by like being in a car and running around. And so historically, when you have something like this, right, they have limited contact with the public. So when you have this sort of like limited contact, when you're sort of reactive, when you're sort of mobile, right, it's sort of like an inaction, right, because there is nothing that's being done actively to reduce crime, right? Now, they are, by driving, yes, they are doing something, right? And responding to calls, they are doing something, right? But it's not targeted, right? So I guess a better way to say this is that this is not targeted. So what do we do then, right? Like, what is this going to be different? Well, this is going to echo, sort of a recurring theme, is that in order to improve policing or and limit disorder, the goal is to become more proactive and involved with the community. So what does that mean in practice, right? So if we're becoming more involved, we're becoming part of the community, right? This theory, right, tends to be tailored more for urban areas, but it requires a level of social embeddedness of the officers, right? One where they is that double D? I'm going to say this is right. Where you're embedded in the community and you are familiar with the life force of an area, of a neighborhood or something like that. So you have a sense of what is and what is not considered acceptable. Who's a stranger, who's not. Is this person, are they allowed to exist here, or are they not? Right, kind of deal, right? So once you're familiar with this kind of life force, right, once you have this level of social embeddedness, then the goal then is that your job is to either maintain order, so keeping peace or keeping a natural kind of life force or being in there, and to reduce disorder and subsequently fear of crime. And so the goal then is that once this is like put into place, then is that if there is a control on disorder, if there is a control on fear, and that there is this maintenance occurring. should lead to fewer crimes by preserving and becoming embedded into that community, right? So we'll talk more about what that means in the next